Buddy, what are you? You are not thinking about jumping down here, are you? Do you hear the tone I'm using? Ugh. This made me very nervous. Get away from the edge. This cat's gonna kill me. Yeah. Hi, honey. Did you enjoy our nap? Hmm? Yeah, okay. Yeah. 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 Good boy. Hey guys, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. Today is June 27th. It's a beautiful day. It's a gorgeous day. Gorgeous day here in Las Vegas. It's 105, of course, which is not unusual for the summer. But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Tomorrow, as you know, is my 22nd anniversary of sobriety, and I am more thrilled about this anniversary than I have been for a very long time. I don't know why this feels special, but it just feels extra special to me. Mostly, I think because I like where my life is. Like I'm really happy with who I am, where my life is, my house, my cats, my job. I think I'm just so settled in my life right now, like I've never been before, and it's so spectacular. These are the feelings. Oh, I'm getting excited. These are the feelings I like to express to people who are just getting sober or facing a difficult time in sobriety, because sobriety is not always sunshine and lollipops. Especially, well, I was going to say especially in the beginning, but you know, I remember being 14, 15 years sober and wanting to drive into a tree because life was hard. I was living in a car, and that was not where I was supposed to be, you know, in my life. So there are times, even in sort of longer term sobriety, things can be very, very difficult. But today, it's so nice. Now, so tomorrow is my anniversary. I'm going to not try to live in the future. I'm not going to celebrate tomorrow because it hasn't arrived yet. But what I will celebrate today is a coworker who is celebrating his first anniversary today. I'm not going to name his name because I want to leave him with his anonymity. There's a bunch of sober flight attendants in Las Vegas in my company. There's a really good handful, because I think alcoholics are really attracted to this lifestyle of mine, where you can isolate, you have access to alcohol, you can pull geographics every week. So I think a lot of alcoholics really thrive in this this lifestyle. But he is celebrating his first anniversary, and I'll tell you, 1 year is harder than 22. He is, I am so thrilled for him. I am so excited on the path that he's on, and I really think he's doing the right things. He's been doing this slow and steady from what I understand. He has a sponsor, he's active, he goes to meetings, and he's reaping the rewards. And I am more than excited. I'm also curious as to why this car wants to ride my behind so badly. Yeah, hi. I think they owe me dinner. Let's see. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the meeting where he's gonna be celebrating. I've got 13 minutes before the meeting starts, so I should be on time. And yay, it's a great day. I am thinking of making a video for tomorrow for myself to celebrate my anniversary and talk about what it was like, what happened, what it's like now. And I've made a video like that in the past, but it's been a long time. And so let's get into this meeting, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye. Hey guys, hi. What a fantastic meeting. Oh my goodness, what a great meeting. It was a small group. There were about 10 people. It's a pretty normal recovery meeting. It's an AA meeting. You know, you got one homeless person in this corner, really enjoying the cake. And then we've got one guy who's been sober for a long time, but is a little ippy in the kippy, and it's just everyone like, There's always one. You don't want to be that guy. Sometimes I am. And then there's a bunch of like normal, regular recovering alcoholics. And then my friend, my coworker, who's just celebrating his first anniversary. It was such an amazing experience to watch him in that meeting today, being surrounded by love and respect. And I'll tell you, if you're an alcoholic and you're not in recovery and you're still suffering, to be in a room full of people who want you there, who respect you and trust you, it's unusual and it's not comfortable when you're first there. But I'll tell you, he has transformed. I flew with him shortly before he got sober. Now, he didn't know he was an alcoholic. He didn't tell me he was an alcoholic, but he was showing every symptom and sign of alcoholism. Boy, he was rageful, and the things he would say, I'm sure he thought he was being shocking. Yeah, no, I've heard and seen and done everything. Then I happened to see him at one of his first meetings at the Camel Club, and he was very uncomfortable, like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, as they say. And I've seen him a couple times in this past year, and then to see him in that meeting celebrating his first anniversary was so groundbreaking. It was so amazing. There's nothing like seeing someone get their 90-day chip. There's something about a 90-day chip that's magical. But then their first year, unbelievable, fantastic. There were 3 or 4 people who shared that in their share mentioned that he's a good person, that he's becoming a good man. He's a good man. They love and trust him. And you could see that cross his eyes. You could see it go right past his brain, through his brain, that I can trust these people, that he can allow himself to be loved by these people. And it's such a strange place to be when you're in early recovery. But I could see it in his eyes, and it was just magic. Magic. Something that was also magic is that I did not take any, try to get any attention. There's this little teeny tiny, I would like to say vestigial part of my brain. It's larger than I think it is. But there's a little teeny part of my brain back here that wants attention. YouTube channel that wants attention, that wants to say, hey, I celebrate 22 years tomorrow. But there's a larger part of me, thank goodness, there's a larger part of me that is and can be humble at times, that can sit back and realize that I don't want to be the girl wearing white at someone else's wedding, so I don't need the attention. It's not my party. So it was just a fantastic meeting, and to just sit there and watch and participate. I did share, but not about me so much, It was a great meeting. Oh my God. But it's 6:30. It's 6:30. Because of a bit of construction, I had to go a different way than I usually do. And there's a Goodwill right here. So I'm going to walk in there, check out this Goodwill real quick. And then I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat something, give the cat some treats, play some video games, and just love my life and be so grateful for every minute I have. And then tomorrow will be my anniversary. I'm thinking of going to a meeting, a 7 a.m. or a 10 a.m. meeting. Because I might be playing a video game until 5 a.m. I don't know. And then I'm off tomorrow. I'm going to share with you guys some of my story. I know I've said it before, but I want to talk about my story of recovery tomorrow. And then I have a turn, a Portland turn tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. So that's my plan. I'm going to pop in Goodwill. I will see you later. Hello, Eleanor. I'm going to go to a meeting. I'll see you later. Okay? Yes, honey. All right. I'm going to a meeting. I'll see you soon. Enjoy the window. I'll give you a good brushing when I get home. Hey guys, how are ya? Happy anniversary! Yay! It is June 28th, 2024. It's my 22nd anniversary. It's just mind-blowing to me. So I just pulled into the parking lot of the meeting space I went to last night to help celebrate a coworker's anniversary. It was his first anniversary. Very exciting. But I woke up this morning with my cats all over me, and I woke up, stretched, relaxed, and then realized what today was. And it's a very, very nice morning. On the way to the meeting, I've been listening to an interview or a series of interviews on NPR that were to celebrate today, because not only is it my 22nd anniversary, it's also the anniversary of the Stonewall riots in New York City, which was the beginning of the modern movement for LGBT equality. So it's a very important day for my community, but also for myself personally. So to my friends who are in the LGBT community, happy anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and to myself, one day at a time, but 22 years. All right, let me stop talking and get into that meeting. I will see you later. Wowzers, that was good. Oh my God, I have rarely felt so welcome in a meeting. And the things that, where is my car? The things that people shared, unbelievable, really fantastic meeting. I've frequently been thinking, like, I need to find a home group and get active and do what I did when I got sober. And that could be the meeting for me. I don't know. I am going to go home, have some lunch, see the cats, and I will talk to you guys later. Oh, it's so bright. Hey there, so I forgot to show you, I got my medallion. Some places call them coins, but I got my medallion. There's chips, coins, medallions, they're all different and the same at the same time. But I'll show you what this looks like up close later on when I talk about my story a little bit. I will get to my story. But I also stopped off at a place called Lisa's Recovery Corner or something here in Las Vegas. And I bought myself a little fancy one. I'll show you that later. And then before I was leaving, I saw this one that says Las Vegas all over it, and I thought, well, I have to have that one too. So I spent $40 on these 2 coins. But you have to have a wardrobe of medallions, don't you? It's like shoes. You have to have a wardrobe. All right, so on the way to grab something for lunch, of course, there's a Goodwill, so I'm going to pop in there. And then I'm going to go home, give the cats some treats, maybe take a nap, and then I will sit down with you and talk a little bit about my story and my why today is so special to me. So I will talk to you shortly. Hi, Eleanor.
You've got to be kidding.
Hi, sweetheart.
You really want me to become a partial Olympic? Wasn't it that?
And hello, handsome. We're just hanging out and playing my video game. Buddy's on my lap. Life is good. Hey guys, how are ya? Welcome home. So I'm upstairs on the 2nd floor in my little studio space. My bedroom's over there, the 2nd bedroom, which is really the cat's bedroom. That's where I put their litter boxes. And then I'm looking over the living room and the big giant window that's out in the front of the condo. I live on a very busy road and there's cars running by constantly. The Las Vegas sun is bouncing off every single one of them, throwing lots of reflected light on the wall behind me. So if that bothers you, I do apologize. I don't close the curtains though, because the cats love to look outside, especially Buddy. He spends most of his day in the window downstairs. But hey there, hi there, ho there. So today has been spectacular. I could not have asked for a better anniversary. I mean, I could be in Boston surrounded by friends or in my home group, but here I am in Las Vegas. So this is my Las Vegas ideal anniversary. It's been fantastic. So I woke up this morning, had my cats next to me on the bed. It's such a nice way to wake up, with love at my feet and across my back. That sounds really bad. But I woke up, got dressed in some cute clothes and went to Dunkin' Donuts, got a coffee. Then I drove over to a meeting, which I had a fantastic meeting today. It was great. I think this is going to be a very, very regular meeting for me. And then I came home, took a little nap. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 for a couple hours now, and I'm having some success. I haven't died too many times. But I'm just hanging out, and I figured, you know what? I want to sit and chat with you guys for a few minutes about maybe a little bit about what it was like before I got sober. kind of my early sobriety and how it's kind of moved along. So we're going to have a little chat about my history as a recovering alcoholic. I know a fantastic topic, right? Lots of fun. So I know I've made a couple of videos, one in particular about before I got sober and one about after I got sober. I have no idea what I called those videos. I have no idea how to do a search for those videos, but they're out there. So today I'm just going to chat about what happened. I don't know if I have any particular idea of the path this is going to take, but if you've been with me before, you know how I talk. It's going to be, we're going to go there together, all right? Because I have no idea what I'm going to tell you. So my charming tale, my witty, amusing tale begins back, well, I mean, I started drinking when I was a child. My mother is a hippie, a drug addict, an alcoholic, a sex addict. I mean, she is basically a feral animal. I have no idea how that happened because my grandparents were so amazing. But I learned a lot at the feet of my mother about how to use and abuse alcohol and drugs. She used to have parties where, there was a lot of pot, a lot of marijuana. It was the 70s. And I would watch my mother eat the roaches, the little ends, the little burnt ends of joints, because she was very economical with her drugs. She didn't want to waste a bit. So she would pop a roach in her mouth, and they could be called something better. But she would pop a roach in her mouth and, take a swig of whatever drink was around the house. And I learned how to eat the roaches out of the ashtray before she did. I was probably 6. I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I would finish drinks that were left around the house. And, a lot of these mixed drinks would settle. So they had like layers, like a parfait. And I thought that was beautiful. And I would just drink these drinks. And I loved beer, even as a child. By the time I was 14 years old, we were living in Germany. My mother was with her second and third husband. I think she was probably looking at her fourth one while we were there. And living in Germany between the ages of 10 and 14, I had full access to German beer. And my mother thought it was amusing when I got drunk. There's a picture of me, and wait, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I found it. I've showed you these pictures before. This was my birthday, 1980. I'm wearing I have balloons on in my t-shirt. I'm wearing makeup and a little umbrella hat. I am stinking intoxicated. I had put balloons in my shirt, makeup on. I was drunk out of my mind. And my mother took pictures of me. She thought this was amusing. Look at my arms. I was modeling quite well. But at 10 years old, I was already drinking alcoholically. I have all these pictures. And it didn't get any better. When I was 14, a freshman in high school, I was going to school at Patch Air Force Base. And we had a field trip to Berlin. This is back before the wall fell. We got to Berlin as a travel group, and I bought a bottle of Apfelkorn, and I hid it, or I thought I was hiding it, in a bottle of bubble bath that I thought I had cleaned out well enough. I didn't. So I was taking swigs of apple liqueur that was tinged with bubble bath on this field trip in Germany. I'm sure I could have gotten in trouble for it, but my roommate in this field trip opened up the windows in the hotel room. There was this big open well in the middle with all the windows on the inside, and he opened up the windows, and I almost screamed because my bottle of alcohol, I had hidden it outside the window behind the shutter, and he opened it up and it fell and it dropped, and my heart went with it. I felt like I was losing something incredibly valuable. I am 14 years old, and alcohol is being taken away from me, and I was reacting as if you had taken my kidney. So this is just a sign of things to come. Now, at 14, I also ran away from my mother, because at that time I realized that she was not the human being that I needed around me. My mother was an animal. Horrible. She's dead now, and that's okay. But so when I was 14, my Aunt Elaine was getting married. I told my grandmother I wanted to be in the wedding, my aunt, and they said great. So I flew to Rhode Island as a UM, and I never went back. I told my grandmother once I got there, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to her, my mother. And they left me there. Between 14 and 18, I was the bartender of the house. My grandfather drank a lot of red wine. My grandmother drank Dewar's scotch. 2 fingers of Dewar's, 1 ice cube. That was her drink, and she would have a couple of those. We would we would watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy while she quietly got drunk there in the kitchen with me at that table with the orange vinyl tablecloth, and it was peaceful. It was happy for me. I was still surrounded by alcohol, but I wasn't drinking alcoholically then. At 18, I started going out to bars. I started discovering the gay bars in Providence, Rhode Island. So I would, between 18 and 19, I would go downtown. I was always a big kid, and I would go into the bars before the bouncers, before security got there. So this is like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I would go in there before security showed up, order my beers, quietly getting drunk as I could on the money I had. Security would show up, and by the time they showed up, I'm already half drunk. And they got to know me. I was a regular at this bar, the Yukon Trading Club, downtown Providence. Oh my God, the things that happened in that bar. So I was drinking alcoholically as a teenager, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. I moved to Boston when I was 20, and I was working at a hot sauce, a kiosk selling hot sauce in Quincy Market in Boston, selling for $5 an hour. I would save every single dollar I had that didn't go to renting a room there, and I would spend it at the Ramrod, which was a bar in Boston. At this time, I finally turned 21. I could get in there because I couldn't sneak into the Ramrod. They got me good. But I would go out to the Ramrod and I would drink every dollar I had. And without telling you too many juicy details, I would manage to steal money from guys that were drunker than I was, and to buy more drinks and to buy more of what I thought I needed. At this time, drugs were kind of slipping into my story. When someone I never really bought it myself, but everyone seemed to have a lot. Coke was everywhere. Everyone was doing coke. But back then, anyone familiar with ketamine? The worst drug, especially for someone like me who's like drama, and love to dance. Ketamine just kind of puts you in a trance, and you sit there like a marionette with the strings cut off. It was not fun for me, but I would do it. If you had it, I would do it. Flash forward, I'm 23 years old. I know I haven't flashed that much forward, but I'm 23 years old, and I'm still working in Faneuil Hall, Quincy Market, and there's this woman, what was her name? Mary something or other. She had red rouge shakes, 2 big giants, black and salt and pepper braids running down, wearing this big peasant dress, and she just looked like some sort of evil fairy in a fairy tale. But she sold puppets or something. She sold something strange on a cart in Faneuil Hall. And she was so warm and charming and nice and kind, and we had a good little rapport. I already knew at 23 that I was broken somehow. I was different somehow. I couldn't see it because I knew I was too close to it. So I walked up to her one day, and I remember saying to her, hey, listen, I don't know what this is going to sound like, but I know something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. Do you have any ideas? Literally, I said this to her, and she kind of backed away from me, like, what? And she was very strange. She looked like she could be tempting Hansel and Gretel into an oven, okay? And here I am telling her that I think I'm broken, and she backed up a little bit. Basically, foreshadowing, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm thinking alcoholically, I'm behaving alcoholically, all in the body of an adult with the mind and the soul of a toddler. And it was just unpleasant, completely unpleasant. Flash forward, all right, I'm 33 years old. I have not changed any of my behaviors. If anything, I've become better at lying and manipulating. I had gone from selling hot sauce in a kiosk in Quincy Market for $5 an hour to being a makeup artist for Versace in Boston, working at Neiman Marcus or wherever Versace wanted me to do a job. Then I went up into fine jewelry, and because the Versace, the line that I worked for, was pulled out of the States. So I'm working at Neiman Marcus. It's 2002. I'm 33 years old, and I was a mess. I was a hot mess. I'm not sure how I was still employed there. Well, you couldn't fire anyone for being messy or like sloppy, but I always managed to get to work 7 minutes late, because if you were later than 7 minutes, you got in trouble. I was always 7 minutes late for my 11:30 a.m. report time, and I was just a mess. I could not. It's hard to really describe if you're not an alcoholic. I could not go 4 hours without drinking alcohol. I had to wake up and drink. I had bottles in the freezer, mostly of either Jim Beam or Southern Comfort was my favorite, because I didn't have to mix it with anything. It was already cloyingly sweet and syrupy and like almost like a dessert, but I would eat it for breakfast, I had the bottles in the freezer, so I would just chug out of the bottle. I had taken that little plastic thing that kind of slows the pour down, because why? And I would go to work mildly drunk. At lunch, I would go home. I lived like less than half a mile from work. I would walk home. I would stop at the liquor store, pick up a 12-pack, which is like lunch, drink as much as I could while I was walking home, and then get in the house, put on some music. It was probably Britney Spears or something. I don't know. Joni Mitchell. I don't know. But I would get quietly as drunk as I could, knowing the line where I couldn't walk in a straight line or I couldn't enunciate, and then I would walk back to work and go to work. I'll always remember Dave Dodge, who was the manager of cosmetics at Neiman's then, and he was like Simon Cowell for cosmetics workers in Boston, which is like a small club. But he looked at me one day. I came in and he goes, "Steven, have you been drinking?" I don't think I had been asked by any employer ever had I been drinking, but I was at that point where I smelled like alcohol 24/7. I said, "Dave, it's Tuesday. I mean, no, how could I be?" Yeah, I was drinking. And it's really impossible to describe my spiritual self back then and who I was inside. You could really look at my clothes and get a little idea. You know how much I love clothes, right? Well, I would wear the same suit to work every day for weeks, months. I don't know how it was holding together. You know those jeans that have that worn spot right between your thighs that kind of wears thinner and you might have a little hole there? I had gaping holes. I could put my hand through these holes that were in the between my thighs, between my legs. I would walk like a geisha so that you wouldn't see that my pants were literally disintegrating off of my body. God help you if you were on the escalator behind me. I mean, it was unpleasant. I don't know how I functioned. I really don't know. Physically, alcohol was killing me. I believe I had pancreatitis. I couldn't tell you because I didn't go to the hospital. But there'd be this feeling that felt like a dough hook was stuck in my belly and twisted slowly. And it wasn't constant, but I would kind of know when it was about to happen. I felt this like something happening, and then it would twist and twist. My whole body would want to curl into a ball. I'd be standing behind a counter in front of our jewelry, and a customer would be standing in front of me, and this sensation of twisting in my gut would start, and they're looking at me like, and I'm literally have my fingertips under the edge of the counter where the sliding glass doors were built in. I would have my fingertips jammed inside the countertop, and I would like basically be lifting the counter just to not show on my face the agony that I was going through. Think there's a problem? And psychologically, I had isolated myself from pretty much everyone except for my friend Marcus. Some of you have seen Marcus before. Marcus was my only friend. I met him back in my Quincy Market days, and we have been friends since. Marcus was more of a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. He used to tell me all the time how lucky I was that I could just drink alcohol whenever I wanted. He couldn't do his drugs as often as I could do my alcohol. But I was just literally falling apart. I had isolated myself from pretty much all of humanity except Marcus. I was literally a mummy, shredding, falling apart in person. I was a mess. I was a nightmare. I hated everyone. And my landlord at the time owned one of the bars I used to go to. He owned the Eagle, which was around the corner from my house at the time. I hadn't paid him rent in 3 months. I spent my money at his bar, but I never gave him rent money. He probably got the same amount out of me. I would literally walk to my house and try to go into the house when I knew that Leo and what's his name wasn't going to look outside the window, so I could sneak into my own apartment across the street from their house. I was sure that I was going to be kicked out of the house. I would walk through the streets of Boston on the way to work or the bar or something and look in each doorway and think, could I sleep in that doorway when it happens? Because it's going to happen. Can I sleep in that doorway? Because I was playing a lot of video games even back then, but I was playing The Sims. If you've played The Sims before, your characters have to pay their bills. Otherwise, you know, they have to keep relationships. They have to eat. They have to, all these things. I could play The Sims. My Sims could pay the bills, could eat properly, could sleep properly, all these things. Me, I couldn't do any of these things. I would sit at my computer. There'd be a time I would try to drink out of a martini glass. In the end, it was a 32-ounce plastic cup. But at one point, I was trying to drink out of a martini glass. And there was so much alcohol and slop on the desk. The glass stuck to the top of my computer desk. Oddly enough, it's the same desk as I'm using right now from IKEA, but it glued itself to the top of the desk with sticky, like, you know, Southern Comfort and stuff like that. I used to drink Southern Comfort Manhattans, no fruit, because that just displaced alcohol. But I tried removing the martini glass, and it broke. The stem snapped off, and the base stayed on the desk with that little point, the stem there, and it stayed there until I ended up throwing it away, because I was that kind of person. I would try to stop drinking every single day. Every single day. I would say, I can't continue to do this. I cannot continue to live this way. I don't have money. I had $20 to last me the rest of the week. I couldn't buy alcohol. I had to buy food. I had to buy cigarettes because I was smoking them too. But yeah, a half hour later, I would be at my computer playing The Sims, shit-faced, with a bottle sitting next to me. I would either buy 3 bottles of wine, Cold Duck, for $10.99, or a 12-pack of Natural Light Ice because it had more alcohol. And then I always had a bottle of Southern Comfort or Jim Beam or something in the house. At the end, near the end, when I just was desperate for alcohol, I found a bottle of cherry brandy that had been left there by some previous occupant in a shelf over the fridge. I was literally scouring the house for alcohol, like you would look for change on the couch. And I found this bottle of cherry brandy or something. I had to, like, I don't even know how I got the bottle open. It was so stuck. It was a desperate time. It was a desperate time, and I could not do it anymore. And there was a day, it was June 26th. I think it was June 26th of 2002 that I decided I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. I'm in too much psychological, spiritual, and physical pain. I cannot do this anymore. Oh, no, it was before the 26th. I got a phone call from my Aunt Elaine. This video is going to be very long, guys. You can already tell. I've been talking for 22 minutes and I'm not even sober yet. So it's going to be a very long video. Settle in. So my Aunt Elaine called me and said that my mother, who had moved back to the States, was in the hospital. She had tried to kill her boyfriend, his son, and then she was going to kill herself with a shotgun, but he managed to get it away from her because she's not that fast. Not anymore, she's dead. So she was in a psych ward, my mother. So my aunt said, and I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, and my Aunt Elaine said, you need to go see your mother. I did. Just for my Aunt Elaine, I went to see my mother. I walked in to see my mother, and I saw her there in her Johnnies and in a robe that she got from somewhere, and these little socks with smiley faces on the top. And I saw her trying desperately to be normal, to behave as if nothing was wrong. And I recognized it myself. I am my mother, basically, with better taste in men and clothes. But I saw myself standing there, and in the Christmas Carol, the Ghost of Christmas Future Past and Present, the Ghost of Christmas Future is this tall, shrouded figure in black. He's a living shadow with a skeleton hand, and when Ebenezer Scrooge wants to see his future, this figure of death raises its bony spectral hand with its long bony finger and points at a gravestone. And that's when Ebenezer's like, oh, wow, I have to change. Where Ebenezer Scrooge says, I have to change. Things have to change. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to die in this situation. Me, on the other hand, I went, oh, hell no. That's not happening to me. I'm going to take this into my own hands before that happens. And so, it was the 26th. It was the 26th. I went to Pearl Art Supply on Mass Ave, I think, in Cambridge. And I bought an X-Acto knife that had like this rubberized grip on it, because I figured I'd need something to hold on to when it got slippery. So I should warn you, at this point, we're going to talk about something very unpleasant in terms of self-harm. So if that is a trigger for you, stop here. So I went to, and I was very systematic. I was very mindful of it, what I was doing and why I was doing it. So I bought this X-Acto knife with this grip on it. And I went home into my bedroom, which was this futon on the floor that it should be in the Smithsonian as some sort of caveman exhibit. The room was just lumpy, just mountainous, with discarded clothing, studded with beer bottles and beer cans and all manner of stuff. And it smelled, the air was heavy. And I lay in this bed with this X-Acto knife, and I knew that I had to go lengthwise and not across if I really wanted to go and not leak to death, So I was there trying to gather my nerve to open up and check out. I needed to leave this party. I had had enough. I needed to leave before things got really bad. And I chickened out. I couldn't do it. Boy, I'm telling you everything. This is crazy. I'm sorry. This is going to be a very long video. So I chickened out. Next day, went to work, and I saw the assistant manager for HR walk by, and I burst into tears, and I'm not a good crier. And I said I needed help, and I needed the EAP number. I had heard about EAP, Employee Assistance Program. I'd never thought about using it. She gave me the number. I called them. It's a 15-minute long story as to how I actually got in touch with someone, but eventually I got in touch with someone at this hospital in Jamaica Plain. And they said, please come in come and see us. And so I went to see this woman at the hospital. I forget the name of the hospital. I can see it, but I can't think of the name. I walked in and I spoke to this woman named Jolie. She had red hair with these very high, tight, really unfortunate bangs with these little glasses. She reminded me a lot of the secretary in Ghostbusters. But I told her everything. And she said, oh, let me talk to your team. And I'm thinking, a team? I have a team? What do you mean I have a team? And she comes back in and she says, you know, we'd like you to stay with us for just a couple of days. And I'm like, well, okay. You guys know more about these things than I do. Which is the first miracle, because I would have fought everything tooth and nail to not go into a hospital. But I said, okay, you guys know more about it than I do. Something was moving me. I didn't know at the time I had a higher power, but something was moving me in that direction. She said, well, okay, so we can have you come in tonight. And I'm like, oh, wait. No. I can't do it tonight. I got a wedding tomorrow. I was still doing makeup occasionally, and I had a wedding scheduled the next day. It was this Russian woman who didn't speak a word of English. And I had this contract to do her makeup, and Jolie said, Stephen, you don't think she'll get married without you? And I'm like, are you single? You can't just have your makeup artist not show up for your wedding. And she somehow she let me leave the hospital after I had told her everything, which is probably illegal for her, but she let me go under the promise that I would come back the next day after doing this makeup. So I went home, I packed up an overnight bag, a weekend bag, not knowing how long I'd be there, with my skincare, my CD player, because we used CD players back then, and, you know, outfits and clothes and all sorts of things I thought I would take for a retreat, you know, or a weekend away. And I brought my cosmetic case. I did the makeup at the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston, and the whole time I'm doing this woman's makeup, I'm telling her all about where I'm going after I do her makeup. Thank God she didn't speak English. And otherwise, I'd have to apologize. And after I finished her makeup, I walked across to Neiman Marcus. I dropped my cosmetic bag, my makeup kit in the security office and said, I'll be back to pick this up. And I took a cab over, because there were no Ubers, over to the hospital. I walked in, and they told me to be there for 6 o'clock that evening. So I get there, it's 5 minutes of 6, and I'm antsy, I'm anxious. No one's here to greet me as I'm some celebrity or something. Grandiose and thinking I'm a pile of crap at the same time. Why aren't you here to receive me, you know? So I sit there, it's tick, 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 it's 6 o'clock. I'm out of here. I told you I'd be here at 6. You were not here to meet me. I'm out of here. Just that second. Oh, hey, Stephen. Hi. So I walk in. During the intake interview, the nurse there, who ended up being in recovery, I figured out later, she asked me a whole bunch of questions. But one of the questions she asked me was, do you feel safe? Safe? Do I feel safe? I didn't know what she meant. Safe. What do you mean safe? I don't understand. I didn't know what it meant to be safe. I didn't know what it felt like to be safe in my own body with my own hands attached to my arms. I didn't know how to feel safe in the world, in my body, in my brain, in my mind, in my soul. I didn't know what safe sounded like, looked like, smelled like, tasted like. I didn't know what safe was. She confused me. So I spent a little time in the hospital, and I'm going to show you a little show and tell. I have this little ceramic acorn here that holds a lot of my special treasures. So if you ever break into my house, this is worthless to you. Inside is my hospital brain. Oh, wait. Oh, man. This is not that one. Where did it go? This is from when I got stabbed. Oh, man. I used to have the bracelet from my stay at the hospital. Oh, well. So It was a week. I was there basically a week in the psych ward. They told me I'd be there 3 days. It was a locked psych ward. It was, and I did not tell them I was an alcoholic. I really didn't talk about my alcoholism so much because I didn't know I was an alcoholic. I talked about my mother. I talked about watching my brother die under a pickup truck. I talked all about the drama and trauma of my life, but not about alcohol. So I'm in a locked psych ward with people who had tried to off themselves, basically. I'm not in the right room. But I had to go into meetings every day that weren't quite recovery meetings, but they were meetings. I had to talk. And we all talked and said what we thought we had to say. It was like the one flew over the cuckoo's nest almost. There was an occupational therapy class. I decided, I had heard that if you were crazy, you would build a birdhouse in an occupational therapy. I don't know why I had it in my head. They had a birdhouse kit, and I built a birdhouse in the locked psych ward. There was this woman, this is from foreshadowing. There was a woman there that had MS. And she had tried to, take care of herself. And whenever I would see her try to do something that I knew she would struggle with, I would leap up because I was the hero, always trying to help somebody. So I looked normal. That was my goal. And she would go into the fridge and try to pour some juice or something, and she was struggling. She had MS. And so I'd say, oh, let me help you, let me help you. And one of the nurses pulled me aside and said, Stephen, we've never had to say this to somebody, but please don't help her. Because if she can't do it herself or learn how to do it, at a certain point, she's going to stop trying. That was a life lesson for me that I had to embrace later on in my own sobriety. But after a week in this psych ward, I left with a prescription for Celexa, which was like a kind of a antidepressant, and the phone number for a social worker that I had to meet once a week with. So I got out, and it was I talked to my roommate at the time, and Adam. And Adam had gone to an AA meeting to learn more about alcoholism for me, because while I was away, he was trying to put two and two together, and he's trying to find out more about alcoholism so that he could be a good roommate, a good friend, and we weren't friends. We lived in the same house, but we drank the same kind of alcohol. But he told me there was an AA meeting at the soup kitchen right around the corner from my house, and where it was, and I walked past it every day going to work. So it was a Thursday evening. I'm walking past this meeting, and I see all the people outside. They're all shiny, happy, laughing. They're all smoking cigarettes because we all smoked cigarettes back then. And I walked by them, knowing them for who they were. And I walked by, and I thought to myself, maybe I should go inside and check it out. But let me go home first, put on an outfit that I feel more comfortable in, because clothing has always been important to me and my self-conscious and my ego and my self-esteem. And I'll go back. And this is a big thing. Are you still listening? It's a long story. I didn't mean to tell you all this stuff. I just thought I'd mention some topics, but here I am telling you everything. This is big for me. I realized I'd be late for the meeting, and if I was going to be late, I wasn't going to go. And if I wasn't going to go, what was going to happen to me? Because I was starting to figure out that alcohol was a problem. So I turned around, and I walked into the meeting, and I sat down in a chair right in the front row. Turns out it was someone who was in the bathroom. I stole a seat, but I was so obviously sick that they let me sit in the front row there. I went into, and why it was a big moment for me, and again, this is my higher power making itself known without me knowing. It was like when you have a wind-up toy, like a wind-up turtle, and you let it go, and it goes pop, 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 and it hits a wall, and it just keeps hitting the wall until you pick it up and turn around and let it go again. That's exactly what that moment felt like for me. If I did not go back to that meeting, I would be dead right now. My higher power picked me up, turned me around, and hit me in that direction. Excuse me. Walked in, and I heard this guy. It would not have been a good meeting for me now. But back then, it's all I could hear. The guy speaking was this gay guy who was a former bartender at a bar in San Francisco, and he talked about his dealing drugs and doing drugs. He talked a lot about drugs, and it was enough it was enough for me to identify a little bit with what he said, what he felt like, and how he felt inside his body at the time. That's what I kind of identify with. And then everyone around the room started going round robin. Hi, my name is, I'm an alcoholic. Hi, my name is, I'm an alcoholic. And they all it came around to me. And I don't want to be left out. So I'm like, hi, my name is Steven. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Steven. And I didn't know what to say. So this is probably one of the first times in my life I didn't say anything. And I said, you know, I'm just visiting or whatever. And then they went on. I walked out. And I was walking home, and there was this guy, Michael, who I hadn't thought about him in years. Michael, what a nice man. He was walking with me, and he said, hey, you know what? We happen to live across the street from each other. And he said, why don't you stop over, and we'll chat. And we go up to his place, and I forget what he said, but I thought he was trying to hook up, honestly. And I thought, this is how they get you. Like, okay, I know this game. I've played this game. All right. He pulled out a copy of the book, Alcoholics Anonymous. His copy, his 4th edition copy. And he started telling me his story so I could better identify with the problem and see it in myself. And he gave me his copy of that book. Another moment that if it hadn't happened, I don't know if I would be alive right now. He gave me his book, and I walked across the street. And someone had said, hey, are you going to another meeting tomorrow? You know, there's a great meeting in Isabella Street. And so I said, oh, I should go to another meeting. All right, sure, I'll go to. I started doing whatever people told me to do. And I went over to this meeting on Isabella Street, not too far from where I used to live. And I walked in. And right there, right in front of me was this guy, Bill. Cashmere Bill, I used to call him. Bill and I had done pretty much everything together at some point, whether or not we remembered or not. But I saw Bill, and I was like, oh, no. And he goes, Steven, I've been waiting for you. Bill was 9 months sober. And he introduced me to everyone, all of his friends. Ron and Rob and Tiffany and Susie and Shelly, all these people who, unbeknownst to me, would save my life over and over and over again. So we went to this meeting, and we took part in the meeting. I don't know what I said. Afterwards, they're like, hey, come to dinner with us. This is now 40 minutes long. Come to dinner with us. And I'm like, I don't have a single dollar. I don't have any money. No, I don't have any money. Come with us. I went, got in the car. I sat at the S&S Diner in Cambridge, another place that my life changed. And I'm playing with the salt and pepper shakers. I'm not listening to anybody because I'm so uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know the last time I had a meal with another human being. And I'm like, I don't have any money. Like, it's on me. So I ended up getting a chef salad with balsamic dressing, extra dressing on the side, a Diet Coke, no ice. And I got that same meal every Friday night for 2 years. Because we all went to the S&S Diner after the meeting. We'd get boneless wings. We'd share them. The onion rings were unmatched. We'd get onion rings for the table. And then I would get my chef salad. And it was my Friday night. And I started going to meetings every day as I was supposed to. Tiffany, I hadn't met Tiffany yet. We're sitting there eating dinner that first night. And the food just arrives. It's hot food placed on the table. Bill's cell phone goes off, and it's Tiffany. I hadn't met Tiffany yet, but she's crying on the phone. She had a horrible date. They just dropped her off. Tiffany's 2 years sober at this point, and he says, oh, we'll be right there. He and this guy, Chris, who I never saw again, raced off to pick up Tiffany and brings her back to the restaurant, and the food's cold. And I'm thinking, She's an adult. She can't take care of herself. The food's hot. Why are you leaving hot food? I wasn't a human being. I couldn't be a friend. Or I was like, your food just got here. She's a big girl. She can handle herself. I didn't know what it was like to be rescued or to be the rescuer. I just didn't understand. But they taught me. They taught me how to be a friend, how to be there for somebody when, yeah. So Tiffany was instrumental because a meeting I used to go to, Back Bay Steps, 7:30 in the morning, at in Copley Plaza. She goes, do you know John? And I'm like, yeah, I know John. John was a misogynist. He loved to hug women just a little too long. He wore this Gold's Gym jacket. He used to be muscular. He was a former murderer, from what I believe. She goes, well, he's your sponsor. I'm like, oh, okay. John started sponsoring me. John terrified me. I was afraid to make John mad, and I was afraid to disappoint John. And John told me I had to sit in the front row at every meeting. So whenever I got to the meeting, even if I was the last person in the room, I grabbed a chair and dragged it to the front of the room. I didn't know I didn't have to do all this, but I fell into this community, this fellowship of people in recovery at meetings. And it became an everyday thing for me. 2 and 3 times a day I would go to meetings. And I got to know people and I got to hear things. And John started me doing step work right away. It was customary to wait a year before doing like big step work. You've heard of the 12 steps, right? Well, John said, you're going to die before you start your steps. So let's get to work. And so we started the steps. And by my 4th month, I was on my 4th step, which for a lot of people is terrifying. I was kind of excited because the 4th step is where I learned the vocabulary and how to talk about my illness and how to describe what was going on and to really identify the problem. I could recognize it by doing the 4th step. The 5th step, we had to open up and share everything with my sponsor, and that process was crazy. And I remember I had just finished my 5th step. John and I were having coffee outside the meeting, and this guy walks up, and what was his name? I forget. And the guy says, hey, John, would you be my sponsor? And John says, no, I'm busy, but he's free. Me. And this guy and I looked at each other like, oh no. But I couldn't say no. And so I started sponsoring people very early in my sobriety, and sponsorship has saved my life. Sponsorship and service to others has saved my life. It taught me everything on how to move forward in the world, and I would be dead without becoming a sponsor first. Because when you're a sponsor, you're having to help someone through the steps, you have to do the steps. You have to be practicing the steps. If not, you're not a good sponsor. And the gravity and the honor of being a sponsor to someone is so enormous that you have to do the work. And I did. And blah, blah, blah. I could talk for 5 hours nonstop, and you know I could, about what it was like to get involved with the service structure of the program I practice, which, if you didn't already know, is AA. I got very involved with the service structure, and it was very rewarding, and I met thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I know because of the work I've done that I've touched thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. And all these minds are passing, all these people are passing across my brain that have all passed sober. For the most part, all these experiences and people that I've met have been so amazing and have brought so much to my life, and I would like to think that I've returned some of that to them. But so, ta-da! I was sober for years, and it was wonderful, and it was good, and it was bad, and it was relatively easy for me to stay sober because my bottom was so bad and so dark. I didn't want to go back there. I had learned that I could not drink. I could not drink and not have bad things happen. So it was relatively easy for me to stay sober. Now, flash forward. I know I've been talking about this for 45 minutes now, and you're still watching. I don't know why. I'm going to flash forward to 2014, I guess, 2014. I've had a few relationships here and there. I got married. Oh, let me show you another show and tell thing. Let me show you I'm going to show you do a couple show and tell items. Okay, let me show you a few things. First off, this is a bottle cap. I'm embarrassed to say that my last drink was a 6-pack of Smirnoff Ice. It should have been something more dramatic. I found a bottle cap from that last drink in my bathrobe when I got back from the hospital. This is a bottle cap from the last drink I had. I treasure this like few things. This was my 24-hour chip that I got when I first came to recovery. This is a 60-day chip that Ellen, we used to call her God's wife. She dug in the bottom of her purse when I got 2 months sober, and she gave me this. This is a very, very, very vintage chip from decades, and I don't even know how old this is, but that was my 60-day chip. And these are chips that are monthly chips that we would give in Boston. They're made of aluminum, and they all have different colors. This is my 2nd, my 8th, and my 10th month my chips. I don't know where the rest of them are. And this is what a chip in Boston looks like, a medallion in Boston looks like. It's got the 12, Unity Service Recovery One Day at a Time. And it's got the Serenity Prayer in the back. They're very big and heavy. This is what most medallions look like around the country. I love a Boston chip. And the last thing I'll show you, this, I didn't talk about my husband very much because that was not a bright chapter in my life. But this is something my husband found, former ex-husband, in the sand. And it's a half of a pull tab from an old-fashioned can. We went like, wow, look at that. That's ancient. And he handed this to me when he asked me to marry him. I keep this. It should have been foreshadowing what was going to happen. And today, I received my 22nd chip from a meeting I went to today. And afterwards, I went to a recovery bookstore, and I bought myself a couple fancy coins. This is my 22-year chip with blue flames and enamel. It reminded me a lot of the video game I'm playing right now. And the back has the Serenity Prayer. And it's got this thick enameling, so it's pretty cool. And I bought this one. How cool is this? Look at that. Fabulous Las Vegas, 22 years clean. Isn't that fun? It's got the Serenity Prayer back here, too. So there's my show and tell section. So let's flash forward to the 2014. I had fairly long-term sobriety. I had a great life, surrounded by a lot of recovery and friends, and I met these guys on a cruise, and I fell in love. I ended up moving down to Florida, and I had really stopped going to meetings. I was too busy being a partner and making ceramics and pottery, and I just stopped going to meetings. And I started to slip psychologically and spiritually. I started to slip a little bit. I didn't drink, but I started to really slip. And when after 3 months they broke up with me, I was crushed, and I couldn't stay in that house with them. So I ended up moving. I got an apartment with this other guy that was just hateful, horrible, but I couldn't afford to pay rent and have health insurance and get gas in the car and car insurance, and I just couldn't afford to live in a house and have a life. So I chose to live in my minivan, which was not as sexy as it sounds. And I was trying to go to meetings, and I was trying to find light. I was trying to recognize the recovery that was inside me. I was trying to see a higher power, but all I could see was darkness and loss, and I had lost everything. And I was like 14, 15 years sober. I'm living in a car. This isn't how it's supposed to be. And I was sinking back into what used to be my old thinking in terms of I can't do this anymore. And I would drive around thinking I'm going to drive into a tree, or I'm going to drive into an overpass. I need to end. I can't live like this. Sober, I can't live like this. It was Christmas. I made some friends on a cruise ship, Stephen and Phil, and what's his name? I remember his other name. This other guy. But I made friends, and Stephen said, "Hey, you know, why don't you come up and spend some time with us in Atlanta at Christmas?" And so my car had died. My car was on the edge of dying. Had it died yet? Had it died yet? No, it hadn't died yet. But I ended up going to Atlanta and blah, 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 blah. And I was talking with Stephen. He said, why don't you move up here to Atlanta? There's better job opportunities in Atlanta. Why don't you come here? And so I started looking for a job in Atlanta. I had applied to Delta because Atlanta is owned by Delta and Coca-Cola. So I was trying to apply for different things. And he said, why don't you apply for other airlines if you want to be a flight attendant? And I didn't want to be a flight attendant. I was afraid to fly. And that's a different story. And so long story short, I applied to jobs as flight attendants and stuff like that. And I ended up becoming a flight attendant with my current airline. And I'm skipping over a whole bunch of stuff because my rebound from that time in Florida, wanting to die again in sobriety, which is not where my goal, was almost as slow as my progression into recovery the first time from alcohol. But this time it seemed to be a spiritual recovery. And but you know, I got this job, and I was so used to living on nothing that it was very easy. My first year of being a flight attendant was pretty simple because I was so used to having no money. But yeah, slowly but surely, I got established in this job, and I find myself living in Las Vegas, and I think I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. But there's something this is where I want to come back to. There's something called the promises in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the promises, were supposed to happen after the 9th step. And they're easily confused. The promises are easily confused with being able financially secure. The promises are being free of financial insecurity, fear of financial insecurity. I'm sorry, I'm being very messy here. One of the promises is freedom of the fear of economic insecurity. It doesn't promise that you're not going to be economically insecure. It means that you're not going to be afraid to be in that situation. It's the freedom of fear, the freedom of dependence on something outside of you to make yourself feel better, blah, blah, blah. But people frequently, like myself, used to confuse the promises with having a house, a car, friends, jewelry, nice clothes, fancy stuff. That was what I used to think the promises were. Well, flash forward. It took me and some of you have been with me this whole time. I find myself in a home that I own with a car downstairs in the garage, 2 cats that are somewhere sleeping, in a job that I adore. As I'm sitting here talking about this, listing off all of these things that I've finally been able to accumulate, I'm blissfully happy with my life as it is. But, and I can say this honestly, my happiness and my sense of security, my sense of self and my sense of value and worth is not dependent on the house or the clothes. Well, the cats maybe. The job. Recovery has brought me to a point where I love myself. I'm, for the most part, the person I've always wanted to be, and I just couldn't be happier. But it is nice. I tell you, it is nice to be in my home with my cats and living the life I have. But blah, blah, blah. I've been talking for almost an hour now, and you're still here. Well, some of you are still here. So that is why I celebrate June 28th, this year, 2024, because I could not stay sober for 4 hours. And today, you know, 22 years later. And I've discovered, I don't know, everything. Everything. I have been through a whole bunch of stuff. I told you I've been married and divorced. I thought I would die. I thought I would die after that. I have been stabbed in the chest by a mugger. I thought I would die. I almost did die. I actually made a video about that. I think the title is something like, "So This Time I Almost Died," something like that. I've suffered a lot, and I've been through a lot. But I've gained so much, and I've learned from every single experience. And I just, it's amazing. I think it's amazing. But there we are. I wanted to tell you guys a story, and I didn't think I would tell you half of what I told you. And there's 50 times what I told you of the good. But the good doesn't always make such a good story as the bad. It's not as interesting. Happy stuff isn't as interesting. But, so I've been talking to you for so long. I'm actually kind of sweaty because I've been so, like, excited. I think for now, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. I'm going to maybe put some water on to make some pasta for dinner. I'm going to give the cat some treats. I'm going to fire up my laptop and play a little bit of a video game that I'm really enjoying. And then I'm going to make sure my work device is charged because I have to prepare for a turn. I'm flying to Portland tomorrow afternoon. I'm coming back about midnight tomorrow night. And yeah, I love my life. I love my life. I love being sober. And if for some reason, if you're not a subscriber or a regular viewer of my channel, if you're still watching this video, something I meant to say probably 45 minutes ago is every single drop of blood, every tear, every bit of sweat, every loss, every gain, everything I have suffered and survived and celebrated has been worth. It's all been worth it. So if you ever are getting sober and you're just not happy, if you're overly elated because everything's going your way, things are gonna change. It all changes. It's all worth it. It's all worth it. Just keep coming. Just keep coming. One day at a time. All right. I'm going to stop talking now. Blah, 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 blah. I will see you guys later. All right. Bye. Leave a comment below, but be respectful. All right. I love you. Bye. Fly safe.